Welcome to today's Roundtable Talk number 24, Expertise in Action. My name is Denicia Butte. I'm the Community Content Lead at the Cardano Foundation, and I'm happy to welcome all of you here with us joining live. This is the second out of a series of two Roundtable Talks. The first one gave attention to subject matter experts more in the Western Hemisphere. Today, we're focusing more on experts, subject matter experts on the Eastern Hemisphere, and also giving the community in the region the opportunity to tune in live and engage with the panel experts. So the question is, why do we host this roundtable talk? So the roundtable talk today is really about the Catalyst representative pilot that we're running together with several members from our community. The Catalyst representative role, similar to what we know as a DRep, is expected to play a more key role in future funding rounds. But to set the stage for the role, we are speaking with these experts, amazing experts, trying to learn from their approaches and frameworks they've applied for reviewing funding proposals. Something I believe, and I'm sure we all can agree with that, will benefit those who aim to step into that role. But before we actually get and dive into all of this, my panelists, let's briefly allow them the chance to introduce themselves and explain who they are. Let's start with Hinson, ending with you, Alex.
Yeah. Hello, Cardano community. It's me, Vincent. I'm the co-founder of Delta DeFi and Sudan Lab. So I participate kind of in this evaluating fund fortune proposal, mostly into the DeFi related proposals. Because given my background in the traditional finance, I'm also a chartered financial analyst and happen to be running a startup of my own. So I apply something is like mixing of the startup like the evaluation metrics into like the financial background as well. To give some of the perspective of mixing like what I see from the Cardano perspective and also the traditional finance perspective.
Hey everybody, my name's Alex Maza. As you can see, I do sustainability and innovation at the Cardano Foundation. What that means is, on one hand, I do really fun ecosystem funding stuff, including how Catalyst does, or how CF does Catalyst. And then on the sustainability side, and what I'm really here to talk about is all of the community and strategic partnerships that I work on related to the sustainable development goals with UN agencies and other smaller actors that are in the sustainability space. And so that's the kind of proposal that I chose to look at for this Catalyst fund, because that's my expertise and mainly focused on the ecosystem and concepts category, even though I could have gone to some of the others, but just to make sure that I stayed on time for the closure of the fund, I had to stick to those two. So really excited about the roundtable today.
Thank you. Let's continue with Bora.
Hey everyone, I'm Bora from Cardano Foundation. I work as a developer advocate, which means at the end of the day, I try to pinpoint all the pain points a developer would face when entering the ecosystem, during onboarding, or while they're trying to find a job at the end of the day in the ecosystem. This is my role here in the representatives that we are piloting here was me choosing this domain and trying to apply a framework to pinpoint all the proposals that could touch this spectrum. This is a rather broad topic at the end of the day. It's not super specific. Anything could be relevant to the onboarding of a developer or their journey on Cardano. So what I try to do is just select a few, stay conservative where I can, and then still get out of the comfort zone where it makes sense, and then apply this rigorously and just as much as possible to all of them.
Thank you, Bora.
Hello. Thank you, Janicio. Hello, Cardano. It's truly a pleasure to be here, and hello to all the other Roundtable panelists. My name is Rahul. I'm the founder and CEO of True Tech. We are a product development studio with clients across governments and enterprises in the Asian Pacific region mostly, and we also work with other countries as well. Over the past few years, we've been very active in the Cardano space, including onboarding multiple governments across India onto Cardano. So that's the brief intro about me, and happy to talk about many other things later.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Florian Vollery. I'm a co-founder of Liquid Finance. So Liquid is the biggest lending and borrowing protocol on Cardano, and for all the ADA that have been supplied on the protocol and which are not borrowed, we can vote with them within Catalyst. To do so, we have set up a subcommittee with members of the core team and the community manager, and we together review all the Catalyst proposal, select the top 50, and then we submit this 50 proposal to the LQ holders who are performing a voting on-chain to select the top 20, and then we vote within Catalyst with all the ADA of Liquid, currently 52 million for this top 20. So this is our current process.
Okay, thank you so much. Now that we've set the stage and kind of gotten to know the panelists a bit, Alex, let me open this up with you. I know we have an hour and we have a lot to cover, but the Catalyst representative role, can you run us through this, please? Like, what is it? What can we expect?
So thanks, Denisio. I think the Catalyst team would be better suited than me to answer that. But as a community member, I was super curious, right? And this is really a community initiative reading into some of the UI UX testing that they shared at Rare Evo, where from what I understood there, it was similar to what you would see as a DRep, right? But on Catalyst. And if you remember, if you've been around Cardano for a while, this was something that we were actually looking forward to doing sometime around like Fund 10 or 11. And so I'm really happy that it's making an entrance again, where one part that really made me excited is that, yes, voters can delegate to a representative, can challenge the representative's votes on certain proposals they might not agree with. But most interestingly, the way the UI UX was set up, it seemed like the representative would be some kind of expert in something, whether this be DeFi, whether this be gov tech, developer onboarding, developer tooling, whatever it might be. And so I was really fascinated by this idea. And so as a community member within CF, who is voting exclusively on the products and partner track for this fund, I suggested, hey, why don't we just test something out? Like I know I'm in touch with some really cool people that I kind of rely on for advice on things that I know something of, but I don't have a really educated opinion about. And then I started speaking to a few others and they said kind of the same thing. And I think what we've seen here, not only on this roundtable, but also on the previous one, as well as on the forum post, where you have the, I think, Catalyst -rep -pilot or rep that. I'll need to figure that one out, but it is on the forum. And essentially, you have all of these different voting review methodologies that have popped up, and it really shows the diversity in expertise, in approaches, and hopefully we can get to some kind of best practice that suits maybe different stakeholders, different types of votes, different types of proposals. So really it's about, bringing up that community expertise, especially as, the next Catalyst funds pop up, but more importantly, also surfacing this expertise as we're going into the next budgeting cycle for Cardano in 2026, and thinking around, how do we rely on different people in the ecosystem to guide or to support on where we should be spending money related to adoption. And this is my personal opinion is, as a non-technical person, for me, it is difficult to have an opinion about something that is technical because it seems technical. And so I defer that opinion to people that are devs or engineers more easily than I would defer that opinion to people that are maybe on the adoption side. Like, it's easier to have an opinion about something about marketing or a DeFi play or how to onboard an enterprise or government, because it seems more tangible for somebody that is non-technical, yet it requires a lot of expertise that we underestimate. And so I think, surfacing the technical experts, which we're very well known for in Cardano, is important, but also looking at the adoption side and thinking, how do we get this critical mass of thinkers to advise the ecosystem as to where to spend for adoption, because we need to catalyze that for Cardano. So yeah, that's a little bit of the thinking around the Catalyst representative pilot.
Yeah, hence of course the word expertise, or yeah. I do want to open this up to the other table members, because I mean, Bora, for example, when you learned for the first time about the Catalyst representative role, what were your thoughts? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, once Alex told me about it, I read about the framework he was coming up and how it would be best, how we would actually take our role in a way that it would just be a net positive for the community at the end of the day. And what actually I thought about is my previous experiences with Catalyst and how it has been, and what the need of the system is, and how we could positively influence this as in this new model. It won't be a perfect start, likely. There will be frictions. There will be things that will likely change and problems that we cannot foresee right now. But just getting the community together and getting them to talk to each other, sharing where they have better information, like this, solving the asymmetry problem of information. At the end of the day, you might be an expert in one domain, just like Alex was talking about, and your input compared to your time is just better spent in your own domain. So if the community can come together and then share their expertise in a public, transparent way, where like the Cardano Forum, which is accessible to the global community of Cardano, it is just a net positive. In my eyes, there is nothing that can go wrong with this approach, and only things will get better and better. Hopefully by Fund 16, maybe there will be a revisit, and we will also be solving the frictions of both the representatives and the community's needs, likely.
Yeah, amazing. Rahul, I saw you nodding. Would you like to share your opinion on that? I mean, not what Bora just said, but I'd also like to learn, what are your thoughts about the new role, Catalyst representative role?
Yeah, I'd also want to start the similar way. When Alex was mentioning about the community role, I was quite surprised. I just read through it and I was really amused that why was this not introduced before? And I was like, okay, at least it is introduced now, and I'm happy that I'm doing this. And I, before even becoming a builder or a founder on a Cardano, I was a community member. I started as a community member. I started buying ADA, so that's how I got into the community. So I know the pain points of community. That's where I've come from. So starting with this, we generally vote every time. Our company generally votes every time in every Catalyst round. But we all as a team used to decide, sit on a table and talk about proposals, discuss between us, and then come to a decision, conclusion, and then we used to vote. It's the similar with any other teams, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's an opportunity for us to talk about our way of approach towards the proposals and put it out to the community and let the community know about it. So our approach might not be correct, might not be perfect, but our approach will give you a new way. So we'll have 10 different approaches. The community will read all the 10 different approaches, will choose which is better in what approach, and then they'll choose their better approach. So it is a very good initiative, according to me.
Awesome. Florian, I'd love to hear from you. I mean, what were your thoughts when Alex approached you about this new role?
I think it's a it's a good initiative, obviously, because you know, I would say when you talk about expert, it's like about commentating football. You know, everyone can kick a ball and run, so everyone can play football. And it's the same thing. Everyone has an opinion on everything, and can be, yeah, I know how to play football, or I know how to talk about this proposal A or B. So yes, we need experts, and there is a huge difference of knowledge between the real professional and someone that have just done it once, you know. So yes, we need this. But I want also to talk to another topic that is also super important, is for me, you know, what is the strategy of Catalyst itself? What do we want to achieve for Catalyst? Because so you know, it's already more than 5 years that I am in the Cardano ecosystem. Liquid was bootstrapped from Catalyst, so I know very well this process. But my question is, for example, over the last 5 years, there is maybe 50 million that have been spent on concept in ADA. When you make the sum of all the ADA spends there, and my question would be, for example, why can we not create, let's say, subcategories in the concept or in the ecosystem, and to allocate the money more, I would say, efficiently? Currently, what I see is we have not yet really defined the strategical goals of Catalyst, and I would like also to be able to give my opinion to the decision maker of Catalyst that select these categories and this money, and also to give my opinion about this. And so I think there is two levels where we should be able to have experts to act, obviously on the proposal level, but also on the strategical level.
Okay, so on the strategical level, I think that is really a conversation for another time, on another, let's say, another roundtable perhaps. But when it really comes to like really on the proposal side, it's like really having experts or categorizing experts within their own domain. I think that just makes a lot more sense. And of course, that's also what we're here today to discuss. But we haven't heard yet from Hinson. Hinson, I'd like to hear your perspective to the new role.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much my starting point is aligned with what Florian has mentioned. Like we have witnessed the capitalist system for some years, and we gotta admit we have huge inefficiency in how we allocate funds into the projects. There's like in my opinion, it's like the price we pay early on to decentralization, because when we allow so many different voices without actually someone having idea of what to trust, what not to trust, it becomes like a matter of who shout a little bit louder, get more attention than getting the fund in the previous rounds. So I feel like the idea of this catalyst representatives approach, which makes people to think about, for example, force me to think about which category in particular I get a better chance to be slightly better than the average, then it's my turn to like just maybe input my opinions, so that it's like I kind of slightly pushing the community a little bit more efficient towards how we actually spending the money and actually growing the community. So I think in my approach of how to evaluate the thing, in particular, because I've chosen the B5 category to evaluate, I apply pretty much the very startup and also investment perspective into it. I contribute, I would say, in three categories of works. First is like a draft Cardano vision. Like this is the roots of everything I do at my evaluation. Because I have a vision which is like forward from our previous roundtable in Berlin, which is how to make our ecosystem to have sustainable transaction, to have a circular economy alone, which we never have to like fight for the resources again, because we are kind of sustainable by ourselves. From there, the second thing I think I try to idea with the community is I derive a deductive framework from that. Is to first to think about which problem is worth to solve as a, and whether the solution actually solving the problem, whether the team can deliver the solutions, and then going into the evaluation, like is it possible to deliver it, and is it value for money, like is it likely, for example, seeing Catalyst as treasury, we invest 1x money into this project, is it likely to bring us 5x the value to the community? it's like pretty much a very deductive process. So interpreting my result could be like interpreting in each level. Like first of all, whether you agree with my Cardano vision. Second is like whether you agree with my framework. Even if you don't agree with my judgment, you could. I have the spreadsheet. People could just fork it, turn the evaluation yourself to see the final result to turn into your final opinion. So I think it's like this just something that I come up with during my holiday. Actually, by doing this during the transition of from place to place. Hopefully, I could give some idea to the community to like maybe there's another way of deductively selecting proposals. So yeah, just we as a community to get more idea on how to have a slightly higher chance to put the bullet into the place that actually help a community. Yeah, so I really like the idea.
I wanna jump on this because Henson like saw a tweet and just replied, "I'm on it." And he really was. Were you, yeah, I was like, okay, this is cool. I think one thing that's also interesting is, you looked at it from like a finance and a DeFi perspective, and so I think there the use cases that exist are pretty much like existing in many other ecosystems. Yes, there's some fine lines for innovation, but we know what could or couldn't work to a fair amount of confidence. And so I think that kind of deductive reasoning makes a ton of sense. And same with you, it's about getting transactions on chain and making Cardano economically sustainable. And so when I was looking at the sustainability or blockchain for good types of proposals, I took a little bit of a different approach to you in the sense that what the use cases are not yet clearly defined, right? Because these blockchain for good use cases are essentially enterprise or government types of solutions and use cases. And these are usually with stakeholders that are super risk averse. And then secondly, usually underfunded for innovation. And so I see the Catalyst proposals that I was looking at, particularly in concepts and also some in ecosystem, as a means to generate awareness and understanding from these groups. I mean, I'd love to hear what Rahul has to say about onboarding enterprises, because usually it's a much longer sales cycle. But then once you hit the pay dirt, the amount of transactions that you can get are really, really at a high volume. And so for me, it was about finding the proposals through the methodology that I'll detail in the blog post. But broadly speaking, how can we educate and create awareness about different kinds of use cases with different kinds of stakeholders? And this is, either through events, knowledge development, etc., which are more on the ecosystem side of stuff. Some really high quality types of proposals there for that, which could be considered marketing. And then on the concept stuff side of things, practical examples that have demonstratable testnet applications that could then get picked up by others, but at least we can and get pushed into the POC and the mainnet testing before they could eventually get to production. But for that to happen, you need to be able to have events about things. You need to have use cases to point at, because for those of us that speak to enterprises day in, day out, as much as you want them to learn about blockchain and how awesome Cardano is, they just want to hear, what kind of use cases can I do in my industry vertical? What kind of use cases have other businesses that could be competitors, maybe in other jurisdictions? What are they doing with blockchain? So, yeah.
This is what you're saying here, Raul. I can see you're sitting at the edge of your seat, right? Please, I will allow you to really react to this, because this is really kind of like down your domain.
Yeah, exactly. Alex spoke 15 minutes and he spoke my topic for like at least 9 to 10 minutes of it. And I was actually on the edge of the seat, and and it was nice. He mentioned so many parts of what we generally tackle with in the real world. These are the major problems which we generally tackle. So as Alex mentioned before, uh, directly heading towards onboarding a huge enterprise or a huge state government or a government doesn't work. So how the approach should be is, it should be a step by step process. It's a layer by layer approach. So first we need to identify the problem, what the problem is, and then you have to provide a solution by using a technology. It's as simple as that. It's not blockchain, it's not Cardano, it's not anything else. So just start using technology, solve the problems of people, make their lives better. It's as simple as that. So this is the first part, which we need to explain the enterprises or the governments. Then the next part comes to, what technology are we using it, and why are we using this technology. And then comes us talking about blockchain technology, and not Cardano, not yet. We talk about blockchain technology, we talk about the decentralization, and we talk about the immutable proof of records. All of this will be done in the next meeting. And then comes which blockchain. And then comes we come up with, yes, this is better, okay, this is also better. But Cardano, we've been building on it since several years, and we've got good experience building on it. And not just that, these are the advantages of Cardano. If you build on Cardano, you get this. So it is better getting onto Cardano rather than any other, because the major problem with enterprises or the governments is the transaction should go forward at any cost. So it should not fail. That's the major bottleneck, and that's where we get a head start with Cardano. Cardano is, it's the best part for us. So we can convince them that yes, coming onto Cardano might be costly for transaction. Yes, it's a fact, it might be costly for them initially, but it's the best way going forward.
Yeah,
Yes, you've put in good investment, but you get a lot of profit, and also you get a good economy running.
perfect. Um, by the way, I see we are joined by many viewers live today, and yeah, I see who's here with us. We have a Kids Compassion. Thank you for joining us live. We also have Individual Digital. Thank you for joining us also. Barov, um, I can imagine, we have many others also from around the globe. If you're tuned in live, just say hi, and also, of course, comment the country that you're from. We'll make sure to bring that up. It's always good to showcase, our global community. And of course, the time today is slightly different than what we usually, go live. But that, as mentioned previously, is to ensure that our community in the Eastern Hemisphere also has the opportunity to tune in to these episodes live and partake in the discussion. So if you have questions, also for the table members, feel free to post them in the chat. Okay, so Alex, let's see, Florian, I will start with you first. What methods or frameworks does liquid liquid labs, liquid finance apply for reviewing proposals in general? We just need to get a good understanding of this.
Yes, so there is 4 criteria that we take into account. One is, what is the utility for liquid, direct or indirect? What is the utility obviously created by the proposal for the Cardano DeFi? What is the general importance of this proposal for the Cardano ecosystem? And then what is the probability of successful implementation? Meaning it's a type of feasibility assessment based on who are the people, what type of team is behind it, do they have the knowledge, do they have a track record, and how do we assess that this project will be run successfully. So based on these 4 criteria, we are it's different people that fill a kind of Excel spreadsheet where we allocate all the different projects and the categories to different people. For example, for the developer part, this is done by our developers. So the developers of Liquid review the other developer proposals. This allows us to have really the best people to give their expertise on where they can provide the better input and output. And this is how we work together. And obviously, there is some talks. We can, for example, when I review something, we also have, for example, a group of 10 community managers that are partially working with the core team to do this task. And because also, for example, in my case, I don't know all the project or all the other team. So sometimes I also ask for different opinion, if it makes sense, because obviously everyone has an opinion. So I don't say that I'm always right. So that's why also when I'm unsure, I'm always asking for second opinion.
Excellent. Excellent, Floria. I'm just wondering, because apparently it seems like you also involve your ecosystem, in basically in the process.
Yes.
How do you foresee this going forward, let's say, with the new Catalyst representative role? Because I guess now you're also reviewing proposals that goes beyond your scope, right? So how will this work going forward? Will you still continue reviewing proposals or multiple proposals, or will you narrow that down now specifically within your domain of expertise as Liquid?
So I would say because we have an important voting power, we can make an impact. So this is why also we want to push the one that we believe are really relevant for Cardano, because obviously if Cardano goes well, indirectly, there is more users, there is more liquidity, Cardano grows. So this is why also we decide to review everything. Then the key question would be, once you deploy this Catalyst representative format, the question is always about the implementation. How user will be able to see the proposal we have recommended. So I don't know from a front-end perspective how the user experience will be, but I think this is a key question to implement successfully these features, is that general users, the normal people can access to this and in due time and in order to use it. So I don't know how you want to make this workflow works, but this is Denisio, I would say, is a key part of the equation to your question.
Yeah, thank you. Just looking at the panelists, Alex, any thoughts on this? Because I'm just wondering myself, of course, I have some questions, but I'll leave that up to you. Please continue.
Yeah, so I think, one of the points that Florian brings up that's pretty interesting is the responsibility that comes with having a significant amount of stake to the ecosystem. Like, obviously he highlighted the business value, but also the responsibility of actually looking over some of these things, right? And not all, I think this highlights, like, not all voters are equal in the Cardano ecosystem, whether it's on Catalyst, even though now we're not only seeing like a square root of the quadratic vote, but a cubic root, which really kind of pushes whales down. And so with stake-based voting, with 1A to 1 vote in governance, I think it's important that large stakeholders do, have this kind of, express this kind of responsibility as well.
But
and
Alex,
don't just follow.
I will
trends.
interrupt you here because the role of the Catalyst representative and becoming let's say a expert within a specific domain, how will that then affect these large players in the ecosystem that has a huge impact because of the amount of stake that they represent, for example? I mean, should we then allow them or say, hey, those are representatives because they're not specialists in a specific area then?
So I would balance that as a nuance. I think people that choose to be DReps, for example, that is a everyday type of thing, right? So I'm a DRep. I'm not necessarily the most active. I have limited stake. There are also large DReps that are fairly active or fairly inactive, and maybe they find support. Maybe they're able to identify themselves where they can find expertise to fill some of the gaps that they may have. Which is valuable, right? So instead of looking at people that are the loudest, most followed on social media, maybe they find through this Catalyst representatives aspect, people that they think could, support them on some of these things. And like what Florian mentioned is, he they have a team that looks over some of these different bits and pieces, right? And to some extent, you have other large stakeholders like the Cardano Foundation, right? So technically, the program that I work on with my CF hat, not as a community member, not as a representative. CF is technically a representative too, because they've chosen to focus on a very narrow band, mostly on the enterprise side of stuff, with 20 million ADA, with a bunch of experts that were reviewing product and partners only, right? And like the way that they have things set up. So I think there's a need to balance the information asymmetry in the way that Bora mentioned, with and reconcile that as closely as possible to stake-based power, so that knowledge and stake can actually be more aligned instead of just kind of vibes and friends. And here I'm being very pessimistic, but I think that's a key thing. And maybe to hand us over to Bora, because he joined the foundation recently, and he'd been involved in Catalyst before, and then he got involved a little bit here in his new role. So I'm keen to understand, from a developer growth perspective, like there's been a ton of proposals in Catalyst. We've seen different types of events or tooling or whatever. What do you think having more developer advocates like you kind of joining in as a representative might look like?
I think this is quite a niche role, in a way that there is not really a clear playbook that is universally applicable to each ecosystem, to each geography, or to each audience. I think having more and more advocates enables you to have a distribution over the geography of the Cardano ecosystem, where localized information is not necessarily always available to certain persons, right? I don't know the region of Africa, I don't know the region of Southeast Asia, for example, or India, or Europe's, or I don't know, North America. These markets are specialized in a way, and people who are from there or who have better understanding from those markets can come up with more specialized solutions to either create a better onboarding experience or understand their needs better and then provide solutions to them. I think just increasing the number also increases your chance to hit the correct target. And at the end of the day, when you increase your numbers over time, we will also have a network of developer advocates who are ready to be globally deployable and can help out each other in events. They can collaborate better. So I think that the Catalyst representatives will also open up the door for more advocates in general on Cardano, with specialties on their own, not necessarily only for developers, but just this word of advocates we will be hearing more and more about, I think, from different verticals.
Yeah. While we have you up, Bora, would you care to explain, let's say, your approach to reviewing proposals, and just give us an understanding of that?
Yeah, it was, I think, probably everyone had similar experiences, all representatives. It's quite a hard process, because initially you have this idealistic approach to it, where you think your framework that you came up with, this universally applicable framework, would go and fit so well into all the proposals that are maybe over 1,000 proposals you see, you click through, you read through, and you realize it is not the case. You have to still maintain this case-by-case basis, and then still try to align with your overall approach. So what I did is, initially I realized I was on the more conservative side, and initially I just took a look at each proposal, then just gave my initial assumption of, okay, do I vote yes? Would I vote yes on this? Would I vote no on this? But this was without the constraints of a budget, which is, in the reality, there is a budget. So you have to also prioritize certain proposals, and a no vote doesn't necessarily always mean that the proposal itself is no, but maybe it's not the time for it, maybe it's not a strategic fit for Fund 14, but will be in Fund 15. So taking all of this into one pot, I tried my best to come up with a list, which will also be shared on the Cardano forum. What I realized is, I think we will also hear about this, and it is the elephant in the room, is the signaling quality and being able to differentiate between a well thought out proposal from previous rounds in Catalyst to today is getting quite hard, because we are in the era of AI, right? So it is super hard to, it's a well articulated text. You are going through 200 sentences and all the correct buzzwords you are hearing, and you know that, oh, maybe this signal is high quality, but if you actually take a second look, you realize this is likely AI produced, and the guy might even not have any clue about this. It is getting increasingly problematic, and I think it will be part of today's discussions too.
That's interesting. You just tipped there, and yeah, let's say an issue that definitely needs to be addressed, but that's not for today. We'll leave that for another time. Hinson, Delta DeFi, Cdon Labs, what approach do you guys take, to reviewing proposals?
Yep. Maybe I will give a little bit more explanation for my intro. We have a pretty deductive reasoning into how we evaluate the proposals. Essentially, we start from the Cardano vision, which is like the circular economies that we want to achieve. And from there, first of all, I do the proposal screening. I do nothing more than just look at the title, problem statement, and solutions. Just that three fields, to think about whether the problem is well articulated, in the sense that it's actually, if these things happen, it will help us to really increase the on-chain transaction volumes and then moving the Cardano blockchain into a more sustainable way. So only from that particular exercise, I've already filtered out 85% of the proposals that I've reviewed, because of a lot of different reasons. Some of them is maybe not for now. They're like good proposals, but it's like there are a lot of blockage in front of it. If we kind of investing money into solving this problem right ahead, probably is just do nothing since the blockers in front of it is not there yet. Some of the reason might be like there's heavily duplicated ideas. We have already a lot of projects in the ecosystem already doing that. So we iterating it without specifying in what is the different things to it. It's kind of, yeah, for me, it's like just funding the duplicated stuff. And there are a lot of other reasons for that also. And it is also, I give a few minutes to think about it, whether I should name out the proposal as well. But eventually, since I want to retain the full transparency in each of the reasons category that I filter out proposal, indeed I have named some proposal out, just for the sake of the transparency. For that process, I'm not disliking any proposal or any proposal in particular. Just in my framework of evaluation, it is not likely to help the Cardano blockchain to have more transactions, or in the momentum to have more transactions. So first of all, I do a quick screening into the proposals. Next is going into the second phase of the evaluation, which takes up most of the time of evaluation, which is like for the remaining 20-ish proposal, I've divided into a few different categories, but they are like just a very, very simple mathematical equations. Like echo to what Borja has mentioned, like the quality of the proposal is not the only factor. There's like the value for money, feasibility. Those are the things that also matters. So what I try to take into account of everything of these is make them just a simple equation of doing the multiplication of a discount factors. Like I have the three evaluation checks, or like a category for each one of the criteria. One is like high, medium, and low. And for the high, I apply no discount into that particular factor. And the medium, I apply something like 75%. And on the low one, I apply a 50% discount rate onto it. So eventually it's like for the proposal that passes my evaluation, it gotta be super balanced in all those aspects. And then what comes next is my way to think about how to do evaluation is that I intentionally give a super heavy weight towards the problem solution quality, because this is mostly coming from my idea of looking at the previous round of Catalyst, is that a lot of good faith community members like propose a lot of good ideas, but for most of the time it's just the idea is good. Eventually it's like doing nothing because of there's no sufficient understanding about what's happening in the blockchain, what's happening in the real world, and whether solving that particular problem could bring the transaction into Cardano blockchain. So I put a pretty heavy weight into, like, first of all, just to evaluate the problem statement. So going back to what Paul has mentioned, is like there are a lot of AI drafted proposal, and I also take that into consideration. So I try not to read through everything of the proposal for each evaluation, because for most of the time when you're purely looking at the problem statement, you will already get a sense of what the direction of the proposal is going. So one category is like evaluating the problem. Second is evaluate whether the solution can solve that problem. The third way is on whether the team can can build that particular solution. It's like a
Hinson,
deductive reason. Yeah.
Hinson, do you guys apply the use of AI for reviewing proposals as well?
We apply slightly in the drafting proposal for our Zidane Lab Catalyst proposal, but in the review, it's purely just me sitting on the train, opening up one by one. Yeah.
But you don't use AI for reviewing proposals, only for drafting your own.
Yes,
Okay.
because in Season Lab we also draft quite a lot of proposal in, like since Fund 11 to now Fund 14. We pretty much understand the process of drafting proposal. Like we spend quite a lot of time just for the title, problem, and solutions, and then for everything out of it, it's basically just flesh out of these fundamental elements and put something reasonable and logical apart from it. And I believe for the curated community member, we have no problem into fleshing out the body of the proposals. But this the title, problem, and solution reflect quite a lot of the thinking process of what you're trying to do and what you aim to solve in this ecosystem.
Clear.
So we
clear.
apply 60% of the category in the problem solution, mostly. And the
Hinson,
rest is like feasibility. Yeah.
thanks also for sharing that. Let's see if there's any guys. Is there anyone who would like to respond to this? If not, then I'd
Yeah,
love
so
also-
I just want to comment. I think it's a good approach, but basically, what Hinson described is actually how I would say the mental model works for someone that have experience for Catalyst. So obviously, I would say I work similarly as he described, because also I'm used to look at this Catalyst proposal. I have a question. Do you think that the Catalyst DRep or representative could act as a filter to, put all these proposals in a type of funnel, and just the ones that pass the cut would be eligible for vote? Could it be a potential role for this experts group?
Yeah, actually, I do think that the Catalan representative could be a pretty good filter for the community. But my opinion is that for whoever maybe try to become a Catalyst representative, it's better to have the entire process transparent. Because when we, for example, decide this kind of framework to evaluate proposal, we have a bunch of assumptions on how we see Catalyst as a system, how we see what we expect from the proposals, and etc. So if we have the entire process, like put it in front of the public, it's actually up to the community member to decide which particular assumption they don't agree on. And they start to just maybe copy the spreadsheet or whatsoever resources, and then do their own fine tuning onto that. So it's like, at the base case is that it could already help the community member to save a lot of hours by doing a lot of the groundwork. Like for example, me reviewing the 100 and something proposal just to think about which one could help to boost transaction. Like if they don't agree on that, they could just going back to that particular column, like filter out extra proposals or include back some of the proposals. Like, yeah, there's something like the collective wisdom that we could kind of help each other, like even for the representative
Mhm.
could join as a group, or maybe just counter evaluating each processes by going back into that particular step of procedures. It's not on the like the evaluation result. The result to me is very trivial actually. Just I decide which is the benchmark to get the pass and come to the if result. But afterward, I think it's actually the evaluation thinking process and the procedure matter most for the community, because it's implicitly like kind of exchanging thought with the community member to how to design a better like evaluation process.
Exactly. I do love that approach, and it's very clear and well structured. I would like to hear also from Rahul. Like, does your approach look like?
My approach is pretty simple. We have four different set of uh, tangible rules where we follow, and we take a decision on that. And before starting me telling about those four steps, I'd want to talk about AI, using AI in talking or reacting to proposals. So what we also would, so the world is moving towards AI. We cannot resist it. We should start using it and make it our companion and not just resist it. And yes, I totally agree with Bora that yes, AI people are using AI without any knowledge. They're putting up proposals, and yes, I totally agree with that. But take for example, like the biggest accelerators in the world, YC and A16Z, they use AI to first eliminate or quantitative the proposals first, and then they have certain tools using AI, and then they quantitate few proposals, and then they take decisions on that. So yes, the world is moving towards AI. We should have, I know it's my opinion, it might not be correct with everyone. So I use it as a team member. So what we do in the team is we so I'm just talking about the fun proposal, the F14. We gave AI all the proposals. We asked it to we gave our steps. What we I'll talk about the steps as well. We gave the steps which we used to evaluate each and every one of it, and it evaluated all the proposals, and we now entered into the chat as a devil's advocate. So if the AI said yes, we've come up with an answer of no, and then we've sat. So we treated AI as a team member. It's as simple as that. So then we've come up with an answer of no, and then we had it's not a discussion, then it's a one-on-one thing, and reading about what AI, the note which given by AI. My approach, if the AI said yes, my approach was no, and then read through the AI, and at the end of the day, even if AI is okay, then I'm agreeing to it, then yes, I'm agreeing to it. If not, no. So it's an easier and a faster approach. So we have 1200 odd proposals. Sitting through each and every proposal might be a bit of hassle. So this is a faster approach which we followed in this fund, and we are yet to make a decision. But this is our approach, and the steps which I am talking about are the four steps are strategic relevance to Cardano. So that is the first step which we see. How is it relevant to Cardano? How does this proposal make Cardano stronger in the long run? So this is the first step, and the second step would be the adoption pathway. So how will how will this proposal bring in good adoption? Let it be a concept, let it be ecosystem, let it be open dev, or let it be product. How does this get better adoption to Cardano? Yes, it might be a concept, it might be on the test net, but there is a scope of growth, and that can get good adoption. So it might be an ecosystem, it might be just an event, it might be a hackathon. It brings in a lot of adoption. It brings in lot many developers onto Cardano. So it's not just the product and the partnership proposals which are the bigger ones, but the other proposals make huge differences. And also the devs where Mesh, Sidan, or any other good dev teams of Cardano, these people do great work. They bring in a lot of adoption. So it's easy for people to use these tools and come on to Cardano, build apps. So so that's one pathway. That's the adoption pathway. And impact, measurability, impact, as Alex mentioned before, impact is the biggest way. Also Hinson mentioned it, Bora mentioned it, Florent mentioned it. Everyone, I agree on that. Impact is one of the biggest thing. And how is it impacting Cardano? How are we getting a return on investment of Catalyst? What is the return on investment to this proposal, and what is the return on this method? So these are the 4 steps which we follow, and we use. And there's one more, which is value for money, which will be evaluated by a person. It's a person to person thing, so we don't give that to AI. So we give these to AI to evaluate, and then we approach as a devil's advocate, and we make our jobs easier and also good approach. This is what we do.
Yeah. Thank you, Raul. That's very clear as well. Guys, we have a couple of minutes left for this final episode, and I do want to give everyone kind of like a final round to express your opinions. But before we do that, we're always grateful for the viewers that tune in live with us and also interact with you as panelists. Circarin, thank you also for joining. We've also showcased others earlier in the episode. We do have a question from Individuo Digital, and I guess the question is really addressed to all of the table members here. What is your opinion about the hundreds of reviewers that have been participating in the process for several rounds already? And I guess Individual Digital, I'm not sure exactly what you mean here, but I guess it's more in relation to the new role. Any thoughts?
I think it's more talking about the catalyst reviewer that giving the marks on 3 aspects, right? So I think what's different from my quick thought, like catalyst representative, is adding a drop of credibility into doing that and giving some more flexibility into defining the framework. Because pretty much the previous framework is kind of defined by the catalyst team, that 3 particular categories. And also for those reviewer, no one knows who are they. Actually, it's kind of difficult to establish the credibility on whether the review is genuinely value added. It's like a statistic more than a qualitative evaluation. So we could probably retain the mix. That's my opinion.
Okay. I think this is interesting in the context of the moderation module that Catalyst has been piloting in this particular fund, right? Where certain proposals that seem to be super AI generated and or scammy or grifty or whatever you want to call them, but negative connotations were removed, or for whatever reason they didn't fit a particular category. I think that makes a lot more sense, because then you're following very kind of strict rules about, does this fit or not? Does this team seem legit? And I think had that been done prior to the voting period, it would have been fantastic, because then we would have had a clean list of proposals to look at. But yeah, what Rahul described, and I think what most of us as reviewers kind of base ourselves off, is this kind of three thing for the 3-pillar framework, which is impact, feasibility, and value for money. It's difficult to legitimately believe some of the feedback here, where if you don't know what that person's expertise is, how I wouldn't be able to tell you what the value for money, the feasibility, and the impact is for whatever Mesh.js is busy doing and proposing, because it's a technical thing. But I could tell you what that means for my bread and butter in the daily, which is funding mechanisms, blockchain for good, or enterprise adoption. I think here there's a really interesting component of, yes, it's great to have these reviews. I don't know if people use them. I don't use them because of that issue of, I'd rather know myself and then vote on that than pass that on. But I'm curious to understand, do other people leverage these these ratings? If so, how? If not, why? That'd be kind of interesting to kind of wrap this up in a way, I guess.
Yeah, Florian, and then I'd like to hear from Bora.
So I think, Alex, you touched to a very important topic, that is the value for the money. I tried to raise a bit some question about it. I understand this is part of the strategy and not covered by this talk today. But I think for me, at the end of the day, Catalyst has a very broad, I would say, range of participants with a lot of knowledge, a lot of expertise. And the key question is, how can we leverage it at the best to ensure that we have the highest value for the money? Yeah, so this is an open question to answer. Let's try first with this Catalyst representative, see what is come out. I think also a key other topic is how in the UI this is going to be showcased for the users, how it's going to be implemented. It's always in the details that we really see the impact or not. So yeah, I look forward to this new idea. I welcome it, and I will be happy to participate on this with Liquid.
Excellent, thank you. Bora, I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, my thoughts, my wrapping thoughts are that we are just a decentralized community that are trying to find a meaningful organization at the end of the day. We are trying to eliminate inefficiencies one by one, and it's a process. When trying to find the bad apple in a batch, it's a really easy job to do. But what we are trying to do here is just being better than the status quo tomorrow. And this seems like a process that is meaningful and will lead us to someday a near perfect system. Hopefully we will get there sooner than later, but it will start out by initiatives like these. So I'm happy to see this. I am happy that we as ecosystem members from different walks of life come together in this call, and people are watching this live and they are trying to form their opinions, and maybe they comment about something, write something in the forum. This is how we move, and I'm happy to be a part of it too.
Thank you, Bora. Hinson, any final thoughts on this?
I think in general, I just like this idea. And it doesn't really matter what is our framework, how is our evaluation, just as long as more people are putting their own credibility on the table and try to comment on something, we are like contributing to the better decentralization of Cardano. It's like even the thought process and the, like how we think about stuff is kind of, we could exchange these kind of information together more frequently. You get us a better opt into putting the funding into the more correct direction. Like even it's like 0.5% or 1% more accurate, I can see there is as an improvement. So yeah, I really like and appreciate Alice for reminding me to take in this experiment. I didn't really notice it without that. But it's like, yeah, I encourage everyone just to try it. Don't think too much about your not exactly the expertise or whatsoever. We kind of, as a community, we learn in the process together.
Yeah, excellent. Rahul, final.
Yeah, I would first like to start thanking Alex for coming up with this idea. These kinds of ideas doesn't come regularly. These kinds of idea comes when you have Cardano first mindset. That's when these kinds of idea comes up. I know I've been a committee member. I like these ideas, and thank you, Alex, for that to begin with. And as Hinson said, we've learned every day. We are learning every day, and as Bora said, we are getting better every day. We're not perfect yet, but yes, we do have a lot of problems which needs to be solved. And also, as Florian said, he mentioned a lot about value for money, which is a big topic which we definitely need to discuss sometime. But yeah, we're getting better every day, and thank you, Alex, for this. This is the start of getting better. Thank you.
Excellent. And I'd also like to thank the viewers who tuned in today with us. and basically enjoyed your conversation about the new Catalyst representative roles, and of course your approach to reviewing funding proposals as a way of basically helping others understand what different options are there out there that they can apply for their own reviewing a pleasure as they, let's say, enter into the role, potentially into the role of a Catalyst representative. Alex, Florin, Rahul, Bora, Hinson, thank you all so much. You've been amazing guests. I really enjoyed this conversation. You know, let's not, let's say, end the conversation here, but please let's continue this. You know, be an example to the future Catalyst representatives. There's the road ahead of us might be challenging, as Bora says. It's not going to be perfect, but the ones pioneering that, the ones who's going ahead, paving the way, you guys, best of luck. But together, you know, we're one community, a global community. We will succeed. Thank you all. Till next time.
Thank you.